Yesterday, Today, and Forever, a catechetical program reflecting the teachings of Vatican II. Here is your host, Jim Grant.
Hello again, and welcome to the 210th edition of Yesterday, Today, and Forever. You know, we usually can't compete with, an ABC national hit like Grey's Anatomy. But on March 22nd, they actually had a very interesting program, but we're going to top it. On that program, they were featuring a patient who was suffering from fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva, and it was showing what that is and introducing the world to a very rare disease. 1 in every 2 million persons might have that disease. Today, we are able to feature a family that lives right here in the Diocese of Fresno that is having a 10-year experience of living with this disease, and not just living with it, being able to actually thrive with it, to grow, to become deeper, richer, and better people, and to be able to bring a message to the world about this disease. In fact, they're so committed to its cure that the very patient, whom we're going to visit a little later, is determined to become a doctor and to find the cure. And we who watch this program could definitely become part of that journey. So I want to welcome you to this very special program with the Whelan family. And our first guest, who's going to speak for a few minutes with me, is the mother of, as she says, 5 glorious kids. She is also a teacher in Hispanic literature and Spanish language at California State University, Fresno. Carol, it is great to have you here. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, that special family, about FOP, and also a little bit about our friend Robin Rice, so we'll know that we can connect with someone who really needs our help today?
Yes, FOP is a rare genetic disorder that turns muscle and connective tissue into bone. And as you said, it affects 1 in 2 million people, so it really depends on the families who have this condition to raise awareness about it, to help support the research, to get the word out, to help identify more patients, and to generally advocate for anything related to musculoskeletal conditions. Robin Rice is a good friend of ours who lives in Porterville.
We have a picture of
yes.
Robin right on our front table. Tell us about Robin.
Yes. Well, we met Robin at the symposium for FOP, the 3rd National Symposium 7 years ago. There have been very few of them because very few gatherings for FOP because it's so rare, obviously. And Robin happens to be from Porterville, which is my husband's native town.
Wow.
And it's not a very large town, as you know. So to discover someone linked to my husband's native town who has a disease that affects 1 in 2 million is really extraordinary. And Robin right now is having a very difficult time. He's all on his own. He lives independently, but he really could use assistance. For example, assistance with daily living, assistance getting to medical appointments. One in particular, even just one trip to UCSF, where there is the world's 2nd FOP consult center. And I would like to use this opportunity to invite anyone who would like to assist Robin, anyone in the diocese who has a little bit of extra time to help him get to a medical appointment at UCSF. Anybody who has access to an electric wheelchair, he's in dire need of one. And FOP is difficult enough for any family to deal with.
Right now we're seeing that there's a way to reach Robin Rice, the patient from Porterville that has these needs. And if you reach that number, 359-9604, that would be reaching Robin himself.
Yes, that would be reaching Robin himself.
And then the other screen, I think, that we posted was already telling people how to find the website. Tell us about the website.
Well, the website gives information about FOP. It talks about it defines FOP. It gives information regarding the doctors who are the specialists in FOP research. It gives information about Dr. Fred Kaplan, who is the world's leading expert on FOP, and he's conducting a race with time right now at the University of Pennsylvania to basically to develop a cure or an effective treatment. The problem with FOP, as with most rare disorders, is that there's so little known about them. There are so few doctors who have experience with it, so few researchers who are attacking the puzzle, that it depends so much on families raising this type of awareness. So Dr. Kaplan right now is the premier specialist of FOP in the world. And he's also kind of FOP's father, sort of an adoptive father. He's made it his mission to cure it. And he right now has, they announced the discovery of the gene back in April of 2006, which is utterly extraordinary for such a rare disease to have that type of research advance is almost unheard of, and it's a testament to the devotion of Dr. Kaplan and all of the research team that he has.
Before we bring on some of your wonderful kids, which we're going to meet two at once and then two again, I really want to introduce the idea of this book. Finding Magic Mountain is just an exciting read. It's an introduction to a very, very special family, and also really gives a good idea of what it is, not only about that one disease, but how it is that people deal with life. And I really want to suggest all of you to check in your bookstores and actually ask for this book by name, Finding Magic Mountain. It's got a beautiful subtitle, Life with 5 Glorious Kids and a Rogue Gene called FOP. You've got to get the whole title in to really appreciate this is about a family, it's about living with a difficult situation and making it be a glorious ride. And on that note, before we bring on your the next two, which will be Vincent and Isabel, do you have something you needed to say before we take our break?
Yes, I'd like to say that the book grew out of my emails to Dr. Kaplan. I was telling him, well, periodically we'd have different crises relating to FOP, and I would email him and say, well, how many milligrams of prednisone, and should we do this, should we do that, and all the time also consulting with our very beloved local physician at Children's Hospital, Dr. Henriksen, and I would email Dr. Kaplan different updates on the children and what they had said and what they had done. And so years later, I said, you know, I think I'm going to write a book and I'll call it Dear Fred.
And this is the book. It just has a different title because Dear Fred was already taken. But this idea of Finding Magic Mountain, that was a new title.
And so the book is meant to be not just something about FOP. FOP is a metaphor for anything difficult. And I think every one of us in life has some version of FOP, whether it's a challenge with a condition, a chronic illness, a problem with work, a difficulty in the family. And what I've learned dealing with FOP is life sort of accelerates in a direction where you start to learn things sort of in a speed course, how to deal with the difficult, unexpected twists and turns that life ends up throwing you. So I wrote it also in an effort to share what I have learned about my faith and about going through something that is rare but also universal in the sense that we all have something difficult to deal with.
What we're going to deal with right now is a little break in the action. We'll be back in 1 minute, but stay tuned as Rob sings a song while we get some more guests on the set. Stay tuned.
In the breaking of the bread, we have known Him, we have been fed. Jesus the stranger, Jesus the Lord, be our companion, be our hope.
Welcome back to our Whelan family, and you see we have Vincent himself and Isabel joining us. And since they're here, I think I should say something about who they really are and why they're here. It is a special treat to have a family on our program. So Vincent, since you're visiting all the way from Santa Clara University, why don't you begin by telling us just a little bit about yourself, about how it is that you're experiencing these last 10 years of your life, and how it is that with all of that, you are thriving at Santa Clara University, having also had a very successful first year at Berkeley last year. Introduce yourself, Vincent.
I'm a biology major at Santa Clara University, and I'm intending to go to medical school. So I'm in the process of preparing for the exam that I have to take this May, and then I'll be applying to medical school in June. And I want to help the FOP research at the University of Pennsylvania.
Which you've already done. Tell us about that wonderful experience last summer and what that did for you and what it did for FOP.
Last summer, Dr. Kaplan invited me to learn about the research going on at the University of Pennsylvania in the FOP lab. So I spent time learning from all the researchers and what they do, and I actually got to help a couple of them. I helped one of the researchers
Which we have a picture.
Yeah.
We have a picture right in the front with Dr. Kaplan, so it would be so nice to see Dr. Fred Kaplan, and also the Irish boy and his mother. Tell us about how that experience, and also with the Brazilian family, how that was so important for you.
Oh, that was actually one of the most interesting parts, when I got to meet other people with FOP, and they didn't know what to expect because they were just learning about what it was, and so they were really grateful to have me tell them that I don't let it affect my life, and they saw how happy I was, and that gave them a lot of hope.
Isabel, you've really, gotten into this project, hook, line, and sinker. And you've got some rules here that are not only on a little board here for our pleasure, for us to appreciate, but these are hanging at the University of Pennsylvania in the special laboratory for FOP. Tell us about your rules and how it feels to have them hanging at such a prestigious Ivy League school.
I feel really honored to have them hanging on a plaque in such a wonderful school, and I'm just really happy that I get so much publicity about this.
Well, tell us a little bit about how you came to them, because to come up with rules, God gave us like 10, but then we added a few, but basically, how did you come up with yours, and why are they somehow making sense to you enough that they're hanging on this wall?
Well, I wrote them because at first when I started my FOP club, things were a little bit disordered, no one really knew what to do, and so I wrote the rules to bring a little more order to the...
Now, what is this club you're telling us about? That's something, you're also a founder. What's this club? What's it called?
It's called the FOP Club, or it was the Best Friends Forever Club.
Best Friends. How did it come about, and how is it growing over the years?
Well, I started it when I was in 3rd grade, and I just after I went to FOP dinners and fundraisers, I started wanting to get more involved into FOP, so I started a club with my friends.
Best Friends Forever, Sarah, Dick, Rachel, Chen, and Shelby Arioto, to research and to collect money, obviously. So we will unabashedly be asking for support here. How do people cooperate with you?
Well, it was a little hard at the beginning, but I think everyone started to get together and got serious about fundraising.
And what about the wristband?
Oh, well, this for our club, we sold FOP bracelets. These are bracelets that says FOP awareness, and then on the back of it, it says www.ifopa.org. It's the
Sends
website.
them right to the website, which has lots of good information. And we're going to want people to go there often. We want to remind you how simple it is. ifopa.org. Go there and be learning what, after that program on, what's that program? Oh, Grey's Anatomy. I think you've heard of it. That will be helping millions of people to suddenly hear of it. But we want you to know that if they only featured it in a glorious way with, actresses, we can actually have real people telling you about what this is like in their own family. Vincent, any final thought you definitely have that you wanted to communicate to people to understand either your situation or their part in what they can do to help, or your own desire to just plow on ahead and work towards that cure in your own medical career?
Just to tell everyone how important it is to fundraise and help other people with this rare condition. And then I hope to help work towards discovering the cure once I get my medical degree.
Isabel, a final thought to the youngest people who are watching this program. You're only, 10? Fourth grader at OLPH Clovis?
I'm at fifth
Fifth grade. See, she's very advanced. She's a fifth grader. What would you tell the other fifth graders of the world? What can they do?
Well,
They can cooperate with you. They could become best friends forever, right? Can they join and start supporting by going to the website and starting to see what they can do?
yeah.
That's what we want you to do. Find yourself not just watching this program and enjoying meeting interesting people that live right here in our environs. Actually, they're from Clovis, but they have roots, as they say, all over the world. One of them, actually, guess which one, comes from Argentina. And, well, you can guess. And then the others are born here, around here, studied at San Joaquin. Some of them actually still go there, and some of them actually grew out of OLPH Clovis. So we've got connections with other things going on in the diocese. So let's support the family as we can by learning about FOP and deciding to work on this. Carol, a final thought before we send these two away.
I just want to say how proud I am of my 5 glorious children, and one of them is not here today. He's at New Jersey studying in law school, Brian. But they've all helped in their different ways to raise awareness and to help with this cause. So these are 2 representatives of 5.
We want to thank Vincent and Isabel for being on this section of our program. We're going to take a little break right now. We're going to try, as they say, another song. We figured let's do a nice transition while we bring out 2 more of the Whelans. Stay tuned. This is not a commercial break. This is part of our program.
God has done great things for us, filled us with laughter and music. God has done great things for us, filled us with laughter and music. God proclaims to the nations, God has done for us mighty deeds of love, preserving us from death. God lead his people home to him rejoicing.
But this is the best story. This is the best. Welcome back now to the third part of our program, and I think I'm going to read something that I think is deserving to be read. I'm just going to read it just as it is with no editorial comment, which I usually put in. Courage, adaptability, resourcefulness, perseverance, redefinition during crisis, and enduring love are characteristics that you witness in this book and on their journey. It is metaphorical that while Vincent's illness has increasingly attempted to embody rigidity, he has adapted by becoming increasingly flexible in his attitude, imagination, and planning. By any measure of success, Vincent has flourished. This is the reason his story needs to be told. final thought from Dr. Hendrickson. Carol and Walter have demonstrated for Vincent and his siblings how to tackle seemingly insurmountable odds, finding not simply a way to cope, but an avenue of success through this adversity. I invite you to learn from the lessons patterned in this brilliant story of life lived fully, to find ways to overcome the hardships of your own life, and if that cannot be, then to adapt innovatively where possible. With that preface from the great Dr. Hendrickson, I'd like to welcome Lucas and Celine to the panel. Lucas, tell us a little bit from your point of view as the brother to your favorite, I won't say favorite because you got two favorite brothers, okay? One of your favorite brothers, Vincent. Tell us from your point of view what this is for you, what you've learned, what you've grown through, and what you appreciate most about your journey on Magic Mountain.
All right. Well, I think I've always appreciated, like, ever since Vincent was diagnosed with FOP, and I've seen his courage and how he's dealt with this disease. But I think that the point where I realized it the most was when I was a junior in high school. I was really into basketball at the time, and I had a knee injury at that, and I had to have surgery, and I was out of commission for a year, so I wasn't able to do many of the things that I was used to doing. And so at that point, I saw a little bit of how life was in Vincent's eyes, and I kind of had like an epiphany, and I saw how he deals with things every day, and it just my respect for everything he did, just, I don't know, I realized it a lot more. I don't know.
When it becomes your own, I think one thing about this book that I think I've mentioned it to other people, and they say, oh, it must be a good book even if you don't have a major disease that you're dealing with. We're all dealing with something. And this book helps a family to decide how they're going to make it be not a deal breaker, but something that actually turns out to be giving meaning to life. It doesn't make it impossible, it makes it more rich. That would bring up Celine. What is it that you would like to share, Celine, about your connection with Vincent, or what it is that personally, your own growth, your own experience of having this part of your life so special and so different from maybe other kids?
Well, I don't know. I think it's easier for me to be able to sympathize for other people because I know what it's like to, well, I don't know exactly what it's like, but I see what Vincent goes through every day, and he's very, very courageous, and it gives me hope because I know that people, it's not impossible to do things and to reach your dreams and to reach your goals. And I don't know.
Carol, with the 5 that you have, you and Walt have 5 special kids. How is it that you would sum up their own experience as siblings with Vincent, and yourself and Walt as parents and a couple? What is it that you would want to let people know is in their possibilities because of what you have going on in your own family?
Well, I think they've all learned how to put other people before them and how to work towards something bigger than themselves. And I think that's what all of us are learning in our lives, and they are learning it earlier than most people. And they've also learned to rely on their faith a lot, which it's very, for me as a mother, to see my children grow up in their faith and to see how their faith deepens, how devoted they are to God and to the church, and it's so, I can't put a name to it. And I know that dealing with something difficult, rather than making them, some people deal with suffering, and I think it pushes them away from belief. But in our family, it has deepened our belief and our leaning on each other, and I've seen that grow and seen the Holy Spirit work in our lives, and that's phenomenal.
It really is. It shines in the book. I want to ask Lucas something that he may not want to talk about, but then again, under the lights he has to, huh? Tell us about, I think, that bodyguard experience, because I found that a beautiful vignette. It was very special what you did, what you and Vincent did, and how it turned out, as they say, so swell. It turned out great.
Yeah, it did. We went to summer school every year, and this was, I think, I don't know exactly when it was, but I was around 8 or 9, and we had some kids in the class. We were taking a magic class, and there were some kids in the class that were troublemakers, and we weren't getting along with them, and there was constantly some problems in the class, and so my mom intervened and talked to the teacher, and ended up getting an ex-convict to be an assistant to make sure that these problems stopped, and ended up being a really awesome experience. He shared stories with the class. Everyone would just sit down. We didn't really end up learning that much magic, but he was kind of the magician. He got us.
It was magic.
It was magic.
The whole idea of thinking of an ex-con as being, oh my God, I've compounded already a bad deal here. It's going to get worse. It's like, let's bring in more problems. It turned out that there was a whole reappreciation of the power of transformation, that an ex-con turned out to be just what's needed at the moment. Mm-hmm. That's only one of the many, many interesting details you will learn when you read this. Celine, I'm going to quote something here, and you may remember the setting or you may not, but Mom, everything happens for a reason. The whole idea that you found over and over, it's not once that worked. Do you want to tell how you do believe, your family believes, everything has some purpose to it? Things aren't random.
Well, I don't know. I think that there are certain coincidences in life where it just seems like there's no other way, that it's just random, or it's just a coincidence, that there are purposes for everything.
That there are purposes. That's where it gets interesting. We all have the experience of the random thing. And they even say, why don't you just do some random acts of kindness? Because we have random acts of violence. But what's exciting in the book, these coincidences are so much more. The way people's paths meet, the way things intersect, the way the very possibility of this program coming upon us turned out on a confluence of circumstances that were above and beyond our control, and they all worked out, as they say, swimmingly. So in that note, asking all of you to go to bookstores, Finding Magic Mountain, Life with 5 Glorious Kids and a Rogue Gene called FOP. Track it down, find it on the web, go to the website, ifopa.org. Find out what's going on. Find out where you're not just observing something and watching a show as exciting as Grey's Anatomy or as interesting as this, but be there doing something about this. It's in our possibilities. We can actually find a cure, because if we can get people marshaled to be interested in this, to decide that to put the energy that we are putting into, I think, some mindless and sometimes violent pursuits, to put it into something that's going to take a lot of work but could be very, very positive. I invite you all to look for information about this disease and how you can be part of the solution. Till next time, God bless. We'll see you for Yesterday next week.
We hope you've enjoyed Yesterday, Today, and Forever. Join Jim next time as he demonstrates how the teachings of Vatican II are being lived out daily here in the Diocese of Fresno.